Getting answers on a topic that could affect people using Section 8 housing programs. Voucher holders locally have received letters warning them of federal funding being halted and potential rent increases. Western Mass News reporter Matt Price did some digging for us on this, and he joins us live from downtown Springfield with more. Matt?
Chris, this just adds to the drama of so much uncertainty many face across this country. That includes those who rely on these vouchers for safe and affordable housing. On March 13th, the Commonwealth's Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities sent a letter to Section 8 voucher holders, warning them that their rent in the next year or two might go up because of, quote, rising costs and insufficient federal funding. And the agency will have to stop its flexible tenant policies. Here's some of what is stated in this letter obtained by Western Mass News this afternoon. It says, quote, unfortunately, we can no longer afford to offer many of these special policies to our participants, and will have to return to using many of the same policies that most other housing authorities use.
The Section 8 program was a program that was set in place for low-income families and low-income people who couldn't afford to pay these high-end rents. And so there was programs set in place through Section 8 where you can pay like a quarter or a half of the rent and the government will pay the other half. So if you had a home and you was renting your house out in Section 8, you would definitely get paid, right? But people been taking advantage of these Section 8 programs. Well, people been on Section 8 for 25 and 30 years. They ain't worked a job since Abraham Lincoln was alive. And since Donald Trump has come in, he's cut these Section 8 vouchers and saying that we're not going to give you Section 8. And I believe that a lot of these democratic programs has been set in place to keep people stagnated, to keep them government dependent and not being able to grow on their own and doing anything on their own. So a lot of people are very upset because they're making large cuts to Section 8. But then a lot of black people and a lot of people in the community aren't upset. They're happy that this is finally happening. You know, and they're calling this out. There's some women saying this.
If Section 8 stopped tomorrow, what would you do? Do you have a plan? You got income saved? Just excuses? You know that's exactly where they want you, right? Yeah, it's about to get real. Your reality check. Donald Trump is already talking about putting a 2-year limit on Section 8. Did you hear me? 2 years. And what do you think happens after that? You think the system is here to save you? No, it's here to control you. They don't want you to be rich. They don't want you to break out of the poverty cycle. They want you to be comfortable accepting crumbs, addicted to the survival. And another thing, don't get it twisted. I'm not judging nobody for needing help. Everybody needs a little help sometimes. Everybody needs some assistance. I've been there too. But what I am going to do is judge you for being comfortable. Judge you for making it a lifestyle. That's what I would do. That monthly check they giving you, that voucher you just got, it's not wealth, honey. It's not assistance. It's not God's gift to men. It's a trap. It's a trap. Like how your baby daddy trapped you with that baby, that's how the government is trapping you with these government assistants. You ever notice that they give you just enough to survive, barely enough to make ends meet? And then the moment you get yourself a little job, start making a little coin, a little something, they want to snatch it back. Like they wasn't giving you breadcrumbs to begin with. Honey, that's not help. It's a leash.
Now, this lady was breaking down on being dependent upon government. And she was exposing these things and calling it out on these programs that's set in place to keep you stagnated. Now, there's a lot of people that's concerned about these cuts. And Donald Trump is proposing that you stay on there for no longer than 2 years when people have been on there for 20 years. And there's a lot of people upset. They're afraid. They don't know what to do. He's saying if you have a child that's under 18, you got to be working at least 40 hours a week unless you're elderly or you have like challenges, special needs. Other than that, you need to be up outside and working. Or you're gone. Right? And this is what Donald Trump and his administration is proposing, and people are upset saying this.
All right, so this is the first year that I've heard of the guidelines for Section 8 changing. So now, if you are a parent with a child under 18 years of age, you either have to be working 40 hours minimum per week, or you have to be declared disabled and receiving some type of SSI or whatever. So a lot of people are going to lose their housing. A lot of people are going to be losing their housing, it sounds like. People who have relied on these programs for housing with 5+ kids, they're going to lose their housing because of this new whatever that's gone into effect. That's going to put a lot of people on the streets. And didn't something just go into effect that you can't be homeless too? What a domino effect.
Now, we know that this Section 8 is being funded by taxpayers' money, and a lot of people are not happy with that. A lot of people got to get up and go to work every day, work the 9 to 5, the hustle and bustle, and they're upset because the federal government is funding this housing for people that's not doing what they're doing. They're not trying to do what they're supposed to do. And we know that this thing is passed down generationally. The children grow up, they see this, they follow suit. A lot of these young girls seeing the mama do it, they do it. And, you know, we have the arguments about the fathers not being allowed in the homes in order for you to get government funding and all these different things, right? But there were stipulations that, you know, you can't have like a working man in the household, right, in order to get this funding. So there was a woman that got put out of her home. She allowed her baby father to live in the home, and he was hustling, helping to pay the bills, but he was doing other things inside the home, because we know inside these Section 8 homes, a lot of people lose their Section 8 because there's a lot of things that go on, right? But let's listen to this story real quick. Check it out.
Y'all, this woman just got kicked off of Section 8 because she had a man living in her house. So here's a quick story. The lady's been on Section 8 for 7 years, finally starting to get her shit together. She allows her baby daddy to come live there. He's hustling out of the house or whatever the case may be, helping her out with the bills, doing whatever he can. They kick her out Section 8. He skates. He don't want no parts of her. He ain't helping her out. He ain't trying to help her get back up to get a placement for her and her kids, their kids. He just done straight up bounced on the girl. Now, it doesn't make no sense that she sacrificed her place of living in order to help him out, but then as soon as she loses everything, he skates. That's what a lot of men do out here. A lot of men don't give a damn about you and what you got going on as long as it benefits them. So she put herself in a situation thinking that if everything else fails, that he was gonna have her back. Now he's on her feet and she's on her ass. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this situation in the comments. Free game.
Now, the question why we have to ask is, but again, with these democratic policies, why would you even be pregnant for a man like that in the first place? You're on a Section 8. He can't take care of you. He barely take care of himself. He hustling out the home. You have a baby by him. You lose your Section 8 and he just leave you. This happens far too often. But see, what happens is, it sounds harsh, but if you take away the Section 8 now and you force people to have to get out here and do it, they'll typically do better instead of being codependent upon something, right? When you know for a fact every month that check's coming, or every month they're going to handle this for you, you're less likely to go out there and hustle and make better decisions, right? Because now you're going to be forced to make better decisions because that handicap ain't there no more. That program ain't there no more. It's taken away. So now when you get to my body, my choice, you're going to make better choices with your body and who you allow to go into your body and the situations that you put yourself into, because now that crutch is gone, right? But then when you get to Section 8, a lot of these homeowners, right, that rent their homes out to Section 8, they experience a lot of bull crap too from these people because they don't have to work for nothing. And to move into certain communities and be able to rent certain homes, they don't take care of it. They don't care nothing about it because they didn't have to work as hard as the homeowner had to do in order to acquire the home. So then a lot of these people that rent their homes out to Section 8, they run into these problems.
This one particular tenant was a real piece of work. So what she would do was every time it was her time of the month when the rent is due, she only had to pay a measly something like $300 a month. And of course, Section 8 paid the rest. But what she would do is always say, oh, something's wrong with my ceiling. And then she showed me pictures with a leak from her ceiling. She did this for a whole year. Every time it was time for her to pay her rent, she would create some type of hazard so that I have to fix it. Because how Section 8 works is if there's something that needs to be repaired, Section 8 won't pay the landlord until they fix it. So she played that game. Not only that, what she did was when I hired some contractors to fix what she said was mold in her closet, she started an affair with the contractor. And it was, she ran her mouth to one of the other tenants, and they told me, hey, look, Mitch, she's planning to get that contractor to lie and say that you had asbestos, whatever, all this stuff in there, so that she could get a suit against you. But turns out the guy just hit it and quit. He got paid by me, and he got some from her.
So now with this situation happening all across the country, you know, for many years, they made black women and black people the recipients in the face of Section 8 and welfare programs, right? And we know where that came from. That came from them systematically keeping us out of the economic loop for generations, right? They systematically did certain things, right, where black men couldn't get jobs. Because remember, when we had the civil rights movement, we were fighting for rights and fighting for certain equalities on the job front, housing discrimination, everything. So they ran us right into these programs where we've been codependent upon these programs for so long. But what they didn't tell you was W folks was on welfare and Section 8 just as much as black folks, almost double. But also when these Latinos came into the community, these Latinos was also on Section 8. But they painted this picture of the image, again, violating your civil rights, painting this issue of black Americans being the recipients in the face of Section 8 and welfare, but not showing you how they got there in the first place, how the federal government created these ghettos and set up the atmosphere for us to be on it for so long. They didn't talk about that. But now you're starting to see chinks in the armor, and coming through the cracks is W folks, Latinos, and they're now crying because they're losing their vouchers and they're online talking like this.
In 2 years, I'm going to lose my housing. All because the guidelines for Section 8 have changed since you-know-who got into office. I have to depend on the government to help pay my way. I have a child that is school-aged, meaning if you don't have to stay home with your child, you have to be able to obtain employment, have a full-time job, and you cannot be on Section 8. Pass to the government is pretty much your baby daddy, you know? You know you're going to get that check every single month. You know it's going to hit every single month, so you don't have to stress about it.
One thing about these cuts, it debunks a lot of stereotypes that was placed on the black American community, especially the black American woman being the face of Section 8, EBT, and SNAP. As you can see in that video, that appeared to be a Latina lady talking about that the government is her baby daddy. If that's the case, once your kid make it into soccer or baseball, if he or she does, we deserve a cut of your child's paycheck if they make it big, because the taxpayers is funding these government assistance programs, right? You got 2 years to get it together, and you're talking about you need to stay at home to take care of an independent grown kid. You know, she didn't say that her kid needed daycare. Her kid is of age where the kid is independent, and she still want to stay at home. There's cuts coming to Section 8. If y'all didn't know, they're cutting it by 43%. And they even have like real estate developers cutting back on these low income funding buildings. So yeah, you got 2 years to get it together, and maybe someone else could take advantage of the program that may necessarily need it too. Now, I wish they had those buildings where they put like 10 or 20% of the apartment units for like low income or work with your income buildings, and that's for like people that work, but they may not necessarily make a large amount of sum to pay that what everybody else could pay for those apartments. Now I'm in I'm in support of programs like that because these people are actually working, but those units are set aside for to work with people's income. I don't know like the correct name about those apartments, but they're not Section 8 apartments.
Let me say this, because we have no friends and things is not going to get any easier. And let me tell you guys something. The programs that they're cutting and things they're setting in place with the Republican Party, don't think that when Trump get out of office that the Democrats is going to undo all these things. No, they're allowing them to set the things in motion. They're not going to undo it. When you see them sending troops into these different states and all this kind of stuff, when you see them cutting these programs and all these, the Democrats are not going to undo what they're doing. There is a stage, and on stage left is the Republicans and Donald Trump, and they're putting these programs and set in place for it to move forward because they're changing the economy. Right? We're going into a new world, a digitized world, and they don't have to pay you to do all these things no more because they got machines and everything else to do it. So they're going to cut everything. So now you're going to be forced to make better decisions. You're going to be forced to say, okay, they put these programs in place since the 60s, and they had my grandma and mama living in these Section 8 programs for 25 years. I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to be government dependent. I'm going to figure out ways to make the change and get the things that I need so I can be better and do better. You're going to have to do that, right? Because they're not going to allow you to do these things no more because they don't need you. They don't need you. We're going into a new age by 2035, 2040. This is a different world. So they're doing away with the old way of doing things, right? And I told you, they don't need you to make babies no more. They don't need you to do all this kind of stuff. And all this stuff is a direct reflection of what's coming in the future. And these are the things I've been trying to warn you guys on my channels for years, but it go on deaf ears. You still running around slinging coochie around, saying your body your choice, making the horrible decisions with your body, right? Still being government dependent. Now they're forcing you to make the right decisions. A lot of you men, you're not making the right decisions, right? But you know, as a man, they're not giving you nothing but a jail cell or a grave, right? Either you gonna get out, you gonna get it how you live, or you ain't getting it at all. And now they cut it off for the women, man. But you're seeing that it's not just black women. They made black women the face of it, but no. Foundational black Americans been through a lot of things in this country as to why our people was on it. Now, being on it for so long, these are things that we got to work out and work on. And we got to now start re-educating our people on what they need to do going forward. And you can't be having 5 and 6 kids by 5 different men doing all these things. No, there's nothing set in place now to help you. That got to stop. So I'm going to cut this video short here, man. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV, leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.